Well, today I would like to talk about starting design development after you have completed your schematics for your projects. And there's a couple of goals that you have in design development. The biggest one is to test the constructability of your ideas for your schematics, test code compliance, and test cost. That's kind of when you develop the design, you're really trying to see, is this going to work? Now, because you guys all do your designs in Revit, it has this way of kind of making you much more practical than if you were to say do your designs in a tool which is more designy like SketchUp or even ArchiCAD, which is similar. So, sometimes you don't kind of go as far as you would, but still, nonetheless, we do have to make sure that everything goes as per normal construction techniques. So anyway, when you start, the first thing, of course, is go through your schematic design set, address any comments, any obvious errors, things like door clearances, which we will have a little exercise in class. Obvious things, kind of rookie mistakes, not having doors into rooms, that sort of thing. Also, any design features that you're like, oh, I wish I had changed that. When you were presenting it, this would be the time to make that before you delve into design development drawings. Because these drawings are much less about modeling everything accurately in 3 dimensions and much more about exploring how it will be constructed. And those are 2 different operations. We often model things so they look good, but then we do a detailed drawing, which may not actually even look very much like what the model shows. Okay, so there are other things that you'll want to be doing as you're going along. You're going to need to decide on finish materials with greater specificity so that we know the dimension of things. For example, tile. Oh, we love tile. It's all the same size, right? Actually, it isn't all the same size. It depends on the substrate that it's going on to, the type of mounting material that you need to, glue it to the wall. And then some tiles can be, upwards of 3/8 of an inch thick. Some are very thin. Just the cheapest ceramic tiles are quite thin. So you'll need to think about that. You'll also want to begin hunting for exact products, particularly for elements that are built in. Anything that is kind of constructed into the wall that isn't movable. I'm thinking of, even a sauna or an elevator, if there was one, or some item that needs to be coordinated around the wall construction. If you have recessed lockers, you'll need to kind of go and find a product for those. And by the way, you don't want to do custom everything. I mean, you can if you want. You'll make your life miserable. But the big goal for this class, for this phase of design, is for you to understand that some things are kind of bought out of the box. Some things are assembled out of standard pieces, such as a wall. And then some things are custom fabricated just for you. Okay. Anyway, that's what you'd want to do with your schematic design set before jumping into DD. Now, I am looking right here at an example project from probably 10 years ago, spring 2007. So 11 years ago. Believe it or not, we weren't using stones and chisels to make our construction drawings. We were using good old Revit. Thank you to Jennifer Rayome. If ever any of you run into her, we're still using her project as an example. And guess what? It was a natatorium back in the day. Even then, I wasn't teaching this class, but anyway, nonetheless, a couple things that you'll do when you start out. You're going to want to make a few new sheets, okay? The sheet that she's using is the 22 by 34 sheet. A couple things to note. Obviously, this is a Revit construction drawings style sheet. So it is the hideously ugly, boring construction drawings sheet. 22 by 34. the standard paper size is 24 by 36. So note that the standard title block has wasted space. We can print up to 1/4 of an inch to the edge of the paper. So you can get rid of this inner rectangle, and you can even make this bigger one a little bit bigger. It could be, oh, I don't know, 23.5 by 34.5, no, 35.5. You can basically make it within 1/4 of an inch. Note that the left side of the sheet, we usually leave an inch for binding, okay, physical binding. And we're going to create a bunch of sheets, including the title sheet. We're not going to get everything on there just yet, but you'll see that there is typically on the title sheet a perspective view. There's a drawing list, general notes, a kind of indicator of symbols, and usually a list of abbreviations, although we use a lot fewer abbreviations, so I'm actually going to recommend that you only list the ones that you're going to use or that are kind of industry standard. So that's the main sheet. We will be getting to those when we talk about code analysis. This is a code analysis sheet, which is a little different than I'm going to be doing it. But we do typically have a code analysis sheet, and typically there is a summary. There also may be accessibility information on there. Again, it depends on the type of drawing, type of project. What I want you to start with right now with our project is a demolition sheet. Okay, so I am labeling these in the my preferred method, which I believe is the AIA method, or at least it's pretty similar. So title sheet and code sheet is a 0.1 and 0.2. Demo sheet is a 1.1. Okay. And then the main floor plan starts with A 2.1, 2.2. I find it's easier when you add in and out sheets, and this is kind of the way you do it for a larger set. Okay. Now, demo plan. First of all, I believe our project has a view with a demo plan, and the way demo plans work, and this will hopefully reinforce what the book says, the reading that I have posted online. First of all, graphically, you want to make absolutely clear what is demolished and what is not demolished. Okay, so in this case, obviously there's nothing new in here, right? Because there's nothing new, because it's a demolition plan. You can't demolish stuff that hasn't been built yet. And then you'll notice that anything that is to be removed is dashed. Okay, you can also make it red, and I will show you how to do that. Actually, you don't want to cross your leader lines like this. Bad job, Jen. No wonder she only got a B- in the class. Anyway, but you want to basically graphically indicate anything to be demolished and then provide a note. Okay. You can also provide what are keynotes. A lot of offices are keynote crazy. And instead of saying a note to be window to be removed, it will just have a keynote number 7, and number 7 will be window to be removed. She opted to just put the notes in there. Oh, except no, she does have some keynotes. Look at that. There you go. It's under her demolition legend. Remove existing door and wood and salvage for reuse. I don't know why she didn't do more of these, because she has a lot of repeated notes. Okay. You'll also notice, hey, look, it's a legend. Okay, it's legendary. You can create a legend for a lot of your views. And again, a legend is something which can be repeated. It can be dragged onto multiple sheets. Normally, Revit doesn't like that. Okay. Also, for complicated demolition, you will want to draw interior elevations that indicate vertical elements that are to be demolished. So, for example, and our project will be similar, although I don't know why this is so short. Because I guess she's not showing the windows upstairs. You will show an elevation and then any windows and doors to be removed. And again, you can see she has a keying system, so instead of writing the same note every time, although she did kind of do that, but she's also just saying window to be removed. I think I would put that keynote over the window. Same here with these elevations. When you're cutting a new hole in a wall, For a door, Revit will show you that in your elevations. However, you also want to graphically indicate it and provide a note. Okay, your contractor is going to come in and say, well, where does the door go? You didn't show me that I had to cut this concrete block wall to put in a door. That's why we draw these elevations. Okay, and they're all labeled demo XYZ or north, south, east, west. Either system will work. Okay, so how do we do that in our project? Let's go here to our project if I have it. Oh, yes, I do. And I believe in our project we do have a demolition plan. Before I jump to it, let me show you why it's a demolition plan. And it has to do with the properties. Okay, if we look at the properties menu and we scroll down to the very bottom, there should be a phases and phase filter for this view. Okay, phases and phase filters are very, very common in construction drawings. They allow you to kind of plan a project. Often a project, I used to work on libraries, there would be multiple phases where they move the books out in phase 1, demolish the stacks phase 2, build new stack wing in phase 3, then, you know, demolish, move everything out of the other part of the library in phase 4. Each of those would have its own set of plans, it would have its own set of views, and it can be quite confusing. So anyway, that's Revit's way of dealing with it. The way that you see what's going on in these phases is you go to the Manage ribbon, and there is a Phases button, okay, or Phases menu, and what you'll see, any phase in the project is listed here. So there's the existing phase, there's the phase when things are under construction, and then there's the phase where things are completed. Now the descriptions are not terribly elaborate here. You can add new phases at any point. You can list them in order. It is a stacking order. So this top phase comes before this phase. Okay, and the descriptions kind of would indicate that. Anyway, the thing that I'm now interested in is phase filters. So what you can do, you can have any view with a filter on it. So for example, I can make a new phase that only shows existing stuff. In this case, they have a phase that shows only new stuff, nothing existing. Okay. Now a demolition plan, what you want to show is show previous, which is Revit's way of saying anything from the previous phase that was not demolished, and demolition. So, and you see here, these are the three phases we have. Anything new is not displayed. Anything existing is overridden. How is it overridden? Well, we'll get to that in a minute. And same with the demolished stuff. Okay. And so this is the phase filter for a demo plan, previous and demo. Now the graphical overrides, this is kind of like using the phase filters that we talked about earlier. What they've done is they've made anything that is cut through black, okay, nice and black, and we can even make the lines heavier on those cut through elements. I happen to like them being black here. Okay, these are the cut lines. Anything that is demolished is this hidden line type, and you can see it's a dashed line. I'm going to make it a heavy dashed line that is red. Okay. So what this means is anything that is demolished, indicated by in your plan as demolished, will show up nice and red and a line weight of 6. Okay. And has the demolished line type pattern. You might experiment with the hidden versus demolished line type patterns just to see which ones work best. All right. So obviously there is nothing new in my phase filter here. So let's hit apply and OK. And now let's go to our demolition plan. Okay. And what you'll want to do on this plan, go down to the very bottom and make sure that the current phase is set to new construction, but the filter only shows previous and demo. Okay, and hit apply. And what you'll see, first of all, anything that's a weird imported object, that probably came from AutoCAD or Form Fonts, one of those things. Those objects will show up as sometimes they'll show up where they're not supposed to be. So you'll want to hide those guys. I'll right click on those, choose hide elements. Okay. Same with this thing, this desk. I imported this from who knows where. Of course, selecting it is always the trick, right? Let's see if we can grab that guy. Okay. Oh yeah, desk.dwg. That's definitely an AutoCAD import. So let's hide that little devil elements. Okay. Now, anything that you have used the demolish tool on will show up as red. Okay. What you'll want to do, in this case, I am removing the existing gym floor, but I did not demolish it. I just forgot to select it. So what you're going to want to do is try and select that gym floor. See if I can grab it. Basic walls. Let's see here. Chain of walls. Floors. Gym floor. Okay. If you've forgotten to demolish something, you can come in here and in its properties, I'll go down to the very bottom. Oh, it did demolish it. It's just not looking demolished. Okay. You'll want to make sure it's demolished. This is what any object that is demolished will look like. Oh, and this is random. I wonder why this little door got demolished. Poor little door got demolished. Let's undemolish it by just leaving it as existing. There we go. Oh, it disappeared. Shouldn't have done that. All right. So you might say, well, there's not a whole lot being demolished here. Well, first of all, you will, as I mentioned, want to indicate through notes and graphically anything to be demolished. Now, in this case, we're basically leaving most stuff except for the gym floor. So you'll want to come in here and annotate that with a note, blah, blah, blah. You know, you guys know how to put notes. I typically use this 330 seconds, although there's no magic about that. Remove existing, or you don't have to put existing, remove wood gym floor to substrate. Okay, this is the typical note that you're going to see for an interiors demolition. I can never select these little devils. There we go. Where you want to indicate that something's going to be removed, and you want to indicate that you're going to remove it to the substrate, which is to say you're going to leave some. This is not knocking down a building. This is called a gut. So the substrate is the construction underneath. Okay. Now, the way I typically do them is I add 2 liters. Whoa. And I have it kind of loop through the whole space, or like that. Okay. You can also, if we go back to our phases, we could make the floor have some pattern on it. If I go to Manage, Phases, and go to my graphic overrides, anything that's demolished, I can make the surface pattern have some kind of, I don't know, red pattern on it. Maybe something like a hatching. Okay, doesn't matter that it's brick. Okay, you see how now it has a nice red pattern to it. Okay, now what about other things we're demolishing? The big thing are the windows here up on the second floor. We're going to want to draw an interior elevation for that. Again, I don't hopefully need to tell you how to draw an interior elevation, although where do I find those little devils? Oh, here we go. Elevation. Elevation, interior elevation. Now, what's interesting is this symbol recognizes, when you put it in the plan, it will recognize the phase filters, hopefully, of the view. Again, we all know Revit is not so sporty when it comes to interior elevation, so make sure it's showing you the correct view depth and the correct width. I'll just double click on it to go to it. And yes, lo and behold, here is my elevation. Okay, it's not correct, right? Because we don't want to show the thickness of the roof. I don't know why, it just bugs me that Revit is so, you know, reluctant to be compliant. Anyway, you can also show it as a section. In fact, maybe that's the way to go. Let's in fact show it as a section or whatever. We'll just do it as an elevation. And here's that annoying desk. Just does not know that it's not invited to this party. Okay, let's just hide that desk. I'll just hide the category. Now you might say, wait a sec, Professor Brody, what is going on here? I understand the windows are shown as demolished, but what's going on here? These are where we're putting in a new door and a new window. Revit knows that, and it will indicate in your demo elevation or section where those areas are. Now, I don't like the way these look graphically, so I'm going to come in and I think I'm going to change my phases again. Go back to phases and change my graphical overrides for my phase filter to make the perimeter line around these things also red. Okay. And well, we'll stick with the demolished line type. Okay. Hit apply and okay. And again, you want things to be as absolutely clear as possible. I will also provide notes. Now, we don't have a huge amount of demolition in this particular project, so I think I'm just going to go with a piece of text indicating windows to be demolished. However, these guys are important to both indicate with more kind of graphical clarity, and I should put some dimensions on these, okay? Because it's very important when you there's nothing to dimension these two. There's no mezzanine construction, so we need to indicate that. First of all, to draw the lines around the border of these openings, I could come in here with a detail line, but I don't think there's one in here that's that nice red color. Let's see, maybe demolished is the right bright red color. Let's find out. No, that would not be very bright and red. Okay, so what we want to do, and here I'll just, oops, get rid of that line. What we want to do is create a new line type that looks a lot like this bright red that we're seeing here, okay? To do that, we go to the Manage ribbon again, and there is the, where is it? The More option. Here we go. Additional Settings button, okay? And there's all sorts of good stuff in here that we can use to kind of configure our Revit projects. Again, Revit is a construction drawings beast, so you absolutely, if you want to do something, there's almost certainly a tool for it. So anyway, line styles is the one that we want to modify. This has a list of all the line styles in our project. Let's see if we can stretch this little devil out. You know, you can indicate the pattern and the color. Okay, you know, and this is not exactly rocket science here. And what you can see, I'm actually not sure. These are the system colors here, so I'm not sure if I should modify that. I think what I'll do is I'm going to create a new subcategory of lines, and I'll call it Demo in Elevation. Okay. And we'll give it a nice heavy line type, line weight like we did before. By the way, these line weights are also customizable in this menu next door to this one. I'll make them red, okay? And I'll make them that same demolished line type that we used before. Which one did we use? I don't remember. Okay, well, we'll use that one. All right, apply and okay. And let's find out if this has anything to do with what we're doing here. Go to annotate, detail line, and whoop, what are we doing here? Whoop, come back. I don't know what I did there. Detail line, demolished. Well, that's not the one we want. We want the demo in elevation line type. Okay. And now you'll notice Revit will snap to these endpoints, hopefully. Okay. And these are just based on where the door was when we put in the new door in the new construction plan. And the new windows in the new construction plan. Okay, so there you go. You can see that not only we're removing those windows, but we are going to remove these sections. You know what? I don't like that demo dash line. I think I'd make it more dashy. We'll have to experiment with that. All right. Anyway, and the other thing is that, like I mentioned, you have to put in a dimension. It's very important that you show both the height off of the floor, okay, and you show the location of these little devils off the side wall, okay? And as you may or may not remember, Revit can get pretty messy in these elevations. Oh, except these are 1/16 of an inch. That's pretty small. Let's go with 1/8 of an inch. And you may have to kind of drag some of the annotation off so that you can actually read it. Whoops. Okay. Can't get in there enough. There we go. Okay. You can also, by the way, suppress the 0 if you want. I do like to have the 0 in there. I find it makes it easier to read. Okay. And actually, I think I'm going to align the tops of these windows here so that it looks kind of stupid when they're not aligned. But anyway, so that's your interior elevation. Again, I'm not going to put in every note that we need in there. But if there are other things that are going to occur here, so for example, a common thing in when you have existing masonry is to sandblast the walls, to repaint all these. If these are rusty, you might need to scrape them or sandblast the existing structure. Anything you can think of. Repainting happens in the new construction phase. So in that case, it would not show up in the demolition plan. Only things that are actually going to be removed would be shown. Other thing is, this is an elevation. We don't show these little devils here. I don't know why. Oh, it's probably the view template, which stinks. So anyway, there's your interior elevation for the demo plan. Okay. Now, one other thing that you can do for demolition drawings, which is not in our example, but I really like to do it, is to create take a photograph and annotate the photograph. Okay. This is much more common nowadays because we tend to print our drawings in color, so we often, or at least we're more likely to print them in color. So it's actually fine to have these drawings that are basically based on a photograph. The way that you do that, you could do it right on the sheet, but what I like to do is create a drafting view. It just keeps the model organized. Now, you may not have used these before. Demolition photograph. Oh, here, we'll do annotated photo. Okay, that is going to be the title on the sheet. And let's make it, let's just make it 1/8 inch scale. What changing the scale does, I'm using a photo, but it kind of affects the size of the notes. Okay, so I'll click OK, and I'm going to import a photograph. Let's go to image, and let's see where we have background. I think I have some photos here. Let's try this one. I don't know which one works. Okay, whoa. Hopefully that's not too big. We'll find out when we go to put text. So basically this is a blank sheet of paper that is set to scale, so you can go and draw things using lines, and in fact we will see there are a lot of things which are drawn in these drafting views. But I'm just going to put some annotation, and this basically is so handy for a contractor. You're able to basically put notes on the picture. You want to be as organized as possible. Oh, I guess the picture is really big. The text is tiny. Okay, let's make this, I'm not quite sure why this came in so big this time. Let's make it, yo big. What you want is to be this to be 4 or 5 inches on your plan. I don't believe that there's an easy way to find the size of these drafting views. There we go. What was it? Oh yeah, I'll point at, say, the light fixture and say remove all lighting and electrical equipment. Okay, I think this thing is still way too big, so we need to make it a lot smaller. Right, there we go. Okay, that's more like it. Okay, because we're just going to have a stack of these notes off to the side. Okay, pointing at different things. For example, you may have it. You may want to inform the contractor. You know, remove. You know, basketball hoops and salvage for reuse. Salvage for reuse. Okay, and you might say, why don't we put that in interior elevation? It's a huge pain to draw all this stuff. Oh, spelling error. Uh-oh. Somebody's going to get in trouble. It's a huge pain to draw like every little piece of conduit, every little thing that's hanging on the wall. It's just ridiculous. You would not want to do that. Even these banners, obviously these want to be salvaged. If you don't tell the contractor, they won't salvage them. They'll throw them out. You know, that's how it works. Same with the seating that's going to get removed and almost certainly resold. You just need to make sure you salvage these. If your line weights are not enough to show up here, you may want to do a little photoshopping on this image and kind of lighten it up. I don't believe you can lighten it up here in Revit. Although actually the one trick that comes to mind is if you put a filled region that is semi-transparent in front of it, but whatever, it's probably easier to just Photoshop it. Okay, so these drafting views, if you go in your project browser, they actually do show up here. There's now a whole section for demolition annotated view. I don't believe they have a filter though. No, don't have a filter. Talking about new construction. First of all, oh, hey, my interior elevation from the wrong phase is showing up here. We are going to want to make sure that these little devils don't show up where they're not wanted. So unfortunately, some elements Revit just has trouble kind of knowing how to handle them. So I'm just going to hide it in this view. Not the category. Whoops, and this little guy too. For your floor plan, floor plans for construction drawings are just not all that exciting. You are going to want to carefully indicate which elements are existing and which ones are new. So you can see here in my plan, everything is kind of hatched the same way. Okay, there are certain graphical overrides which are nice to use. Remember we used those view templates. Sometimes the view templates can make you a little crazy here when you're trying to change things, but just to show you how we can use phase filters, if we go to the Manage ribbon, go to Phases, New Plans, use the phase filter called Show Previous and New. Okay, we can force existing stuff to be overridden in this previous and new phase. Okay. And now if we do that and apply, what you'll see is that anything existing will turn completely black. Right? It's super clear when you do this what is existing and what is new. Okay. Some people will do it the opposite way and have new construction be totally black and the existing construction be colored, but I don't know. This is the way I learned how to do it, so that's how I'm teaching you. Anyway, you can also mess around with each individual wall type. These walls are shown as they are scheduled, you know, as they are in their basic format here. However, if you want to change the hatch pattern, you can go in and wall type by wall type, you can actually edit the coarse scale fill pattern. So for example, if you don't like diagonal crosshatch, you want a smaller crosshatch. This is 1/16 inch of a scale. you can absolutely make a smaller crosshatch and it'll show up a little better. We don't have a huge number of walls in our project, as a matter of fact, but that is a nice way. At 16th inch scale, these plans are tiny, right? So anyway, other things that you're going to want to do as you develop your floor plan. The floor plan in construction drawings, if you read the document I posted on Canvas where it talks about floor plans, they really are kind of the key to a set of working drawings. They indicate all the kind of links to the other parts of the project. All right, and so for example, you're going to want to call out using what are called callouts. Here we go, callouts. Any area of the plan that is going to need further study. At 16th inch scale, we can't even show reasonably all the dimensions we need to do and all the that indicate all the clearances in the bathrooms. You know, as you probably remember from codes class, those are very complicated. So there are basically three areas that I think we're going to need call outs for in your projects. What I'd like you to do, obviously in a real project you might have many of them, but for ours, I'm going to have you call out the bathroom area, okay? And by the way, if you haven't used these before, it's just an annotation symbol. It has grips that allow you to modify the location of the view title head there. So we're going to want to do the bathroom area and also the front desk area. Okay, so I'm just going to create another one of these little devils at the front desk area, just because it's a very complicated area. There's a lot of clearances. There's also going to be probably a fair amount of electrical coordination, you know, because of signage. So anyway, I will leave it up to you as to where you want the third area of interest to be, an area which we are going to enlarge and talk about in great detail and with great care. I think I'm going to go for my sauna area, or not sauna, my hot tub area. So again, I'll just create a call out for that hot tub area. Okay. And remember, when you do these, they are typically double the scale of the original plan. Of course, I say that, and that sounds very reasonable, but I don't actually remember if they're double the scale. Let's go to one of these and find out. Oh, no, not that way. Let's go to the view here. Main floor plan call out. 1 is this one, and the scale. Oh yeah, it is in fact double. So we'll find out when we go to annotate those if it's enough. All right. Now, next step, as you are drawing your plans, is to put in dimensions. Typically, there are 2 sets of dimensions, okay? 2 kind of strings of dimensions. If you go to the Annotate ribbon, I'll put in what are essentially the overall dimensions, and then you dimension all the bits and pieces, okay? To do the overalls, you typically do the faces of the walls, okay? And this is because interiors, we tend to be kind of stuck with whatever is there with the interior finishes. So, you know, once you demolish down to the substrate, that's your starting dimension, and that's what you draw your dimension string to, okay? And one thing that I would strongly recommend is just as a technique, come on, double click on the dimension and put in a suffix VIF. Okay, I think you need to leave a space in there too. The reason is VIF stands for verify in field. You never want to assume that you got it right, okay? So this kind of covers you for like, maybe it was 117 feet 5 3/4 inch, well, that's not going to make a big difference. But if it's 112 feet, you know, maybe the intern fell asleep while they were holding the tape measure. That's a really good thing to to put in there just to make sure the contractor is aware that you're not entirely sure. It's okay to not be sure. Same with down here. When I have a masonry project, I usually dimension the face of the existing openings, okay, and then the face of the wall. That's just the way you dimension masonry. Again, you'll want to double click on each of these dimensions and put in VIF. In this case, the vertical wall, there's nothing on it, so I don't need to do it. But I would also put in existing dimensions for all of these openings. These are all existing, so I would come in and use my aligned tool. Now, what about stuff that's new? Well, first of all of my my dimensions are just, it's going to get a little hairy in here pretty quickly if I try and put in dimensions with all this text in here. Okay, you basically need to dimension every single wall, and typically you have 2 dimensions on every wall. So I'm just gonna, I could probably hide all this text, but we are going to use room tags eventually, so we don't need to have all the text in here for now. Okay, I suppose it may come back, so I probably shouldn't delete it, but anyway, we need to dimension any existing wall, and again, you come in with your aligned dimension. You have to start somewhere when you dimension walls, because if you think about it, a contractor is going to come with a tape measure. They're going to stick it up against this wall. Now, interesting enough, they usually use the center line of new walls. Why is that? I don't know. I've never really understood that. But anyway, just click in the, oops, did I miss it? I missed the wall. Let's go, and we'll start wall faces. Start here, and then let's go with wall center lines, and there we go. Now I'm getting the middle, and because it's happy dappy Revit, you can come and make your way down the wall, and it finds the center of all these walls. Okay. Now, a few notes, and the final one will be wall faces. Okay. Although I'm not sure I got the right one on that last guy here. I think that wants to be down here. Okay. If you don't remember, with Revit dimensions, you can click and drag on the grips to kind of control where they are. Okay. What I will sometimes do, we are not going to do a stair drawing, probably, unless we get lucky and have a lot of time. In a stair drawing, obviously, just like a toilet room, clearances are absolutely critical. So I would almost certainly do a much larger blow up of this stair area, in which case, don't provide dimensions in that area. Okay. The way you do that, you edit the witness lines, and then you come and you try and click. Whoa, well, all right. You try and get rid of that one by by clicking where it was clicked originally. I'm not really sure where it was clicked originally. Maybe here. Oh yeah, there we go. See how it makes it go away by clicking there. Same, I did actually just tell you to put in these dimensions here, so you can click to get rid of the middle dimension, because when we, oh, go ahead, save it. When we do the enlarged detail of the, oh, they came back. When we do the enlarged detail of the bathroom, we will show the dimensions for those smaller pieces there, so don't show them twice. That's a kind of a good rule of thumb. Also, when you remove that last dimension, which I just did, and I unfortunately allowed it to save and mess everything up. There we go. Okay. You don't need VIF, because none of these dimensions are existing, right? Especially if you have a dimension that you want that's very specific. So for example, if I wanted this to be exactly 20 feet for some unknown reason, you could put that in there as a minimum or a clear dimension. And again, you would just double click on the text, type in minimum or clear or something like that, okay? I'm not going to do that. All right, so there is dimensioning. Now, the other thing that you're going to want to do is decide on your construction systems, okay? And hopefully, after our visit to Home Depot. Some of you have a better sense of how these walls are put together. The easiest thing with Revit, right now I've got it shown. I think I'm basically using the same wall everywhere, and that's probably fine. I'm using a concrete block wall, or no, I think I'm using a generic wall for everything. It may be that some of these walls are just going to be metal stud or whatever. You're going to want to decide which walls are made of what. Okay. Now, that's going to have a lot to do with your finish system. So, for example, toilet rooms are kind of noisy. There's a lot of flushing. There's a lot of air dryers. They're kind of annoying. So, I think I'm going to go with concrete block construction, because it's waterproof. But I may want to put some, on the outside, I think I may want to put some acoustical abatement on there, just so it's a little nicer. Okay. And then just for the heck of it, for the other walls around the snack shop here, I'm going to make these out of drywall. Okay. Well, what this means is you need to know the size of objects. I can just click on one of these guys here, and right now it's written as a basic wall generic. Okay. What you can do is look at some of the standard details that will tell you how big each of those pieces inside the wall are. Now, I'm going to switch back to our example project to show you the student here has created a bunch of standard wall details. Okay, these are called wall types or partition types. Where are they? I thought she did. Oh, here we go. No, wall type legends. Where are they? Found it here. It's under detail views. She has a lot of detail views, and she calls it section through typical wall type 2. Okay, so she called them wall types, not partition types. And these are like straight out of graphic standards or the USG book. I'm going to post this document on Canvas, and I'm going to let you steal. You guessed it, steal from somebody else. You might say, but Professor Brody, don't we have to draw everything ourselves? That's plagiarism. Well, in an office, you would not draw this entire detail. First of all, which is a standard detail. So it's not like she drew it originally. She basically copied it. And those of you who are in my construction or my drafting class, we probably copied the same detail. But also, this is standard construction. Okay, 3 5/8 inch metal studs, fire rated Type X, fire rating sealant at the top and bottom, metal studs, not at 16 inches, 2 feet on center, 16 inches on center. Obviously, you're going to have to adapt this for your own project. So, for example, she has 7 1/4 inch plastic baseboard on all wall types. What you're going to do, you're probably going to have 2, maybe 3 wall types. Okay, and I will provide you with the base drawings. If I can find ones that are already drawn, obviously that's better. If not, we will construct them from scratch. And you might say, well, I don't know, how do I get this into my project? It's really easy. Again, Revit, this is Revit's wheelhouse here. Here I am in my Revit project, and let's say I have, what do I have? I have one drafting view. I want to steal that one from the other project. You just go to Insert, Insert from File, Insert Views from File. And what this will allow you to do, you can steal all sorts of stuff from other people's project. And you might say, wait, if I'm in an office, this could be really handy. And it is. You can say to someone else, I love your room finish schedule. Can I borrow it? Absolutely. And if you have a network, you should be able to find their drawings. Now, of course, okay, there it is. Here's Jen's drawing. Okay, this doesn't really make it any bigger, does it? Oh, it makes it a little bigger. Let's see. Sorry, they're just a little hard to read. You can tell it to show you just drafting views or sheets or schedules. What do we call it? Drafting view, section through wall type 2. Okay. We can also show, well, let's find the schedules. Maybe she's got a room finish schedule in here. Oh, yes, she does. Okay, and there is my beautiful drawing, and now I can manipulate it. what you'll each want to do is, let's say you are using, like I am, metal studs for part of the wall, but you want to have moisture-resistant drywall on both sides. Maybe some of the walls have tile. You're going to need to figure out, how big is my tile? Do I want things like a cove base or not? Do I want a vinyl base? Is there going to be carpet coming in there or not? And then try to draw all of those conditions. Now, this might be the standard condition, and you might have one of these walls that is covered in tile on both sides, or at least one side. If you have too many, you basically can just duplicate this view and make a wall type number 2 and number 3. Okay, if you are going to have a part of your plan is to cover this wall with, say, drywall and make it so that it's not you can run your wires there. You're going to need to build a new wall in front of your existing wall. And the way you do that, you go to Architecture, Wall. Okay. Now, in our case, we're going to make this be as realistic as possible. Let's find a wall that we can start with. Maybe 4 7/8 is kind of your standard one. I'm going to edit this wall and duplicate it. Okay. And what is this one? Interior soffit. This is a wall type. All right, whatever. And we'll name it furred out wall. And furring is not something that's furry. It is using what are called furring strips, which are metal strips, kind of like little itty bitty mini studs. Okay, so you can edit the structure. The furring strips are 1 5/8 inch in dimension, and then they have 5/8 inch drywall on the outside. Okay, and that's basically all there is to it. And so that adds up to 2 1/4. Again, I will not say it again. Well, I will say it again. We should go metric. It would be so much easier to just add up 10s and 5s. Anyway, whatever. Click OK. And OK. And when you draw this wall, I'll just draw one here. And here we'll draw one on the other direction too. This wall is going to be built right in front of your existing wall. Okay, it's a lot easier to draw them away from the wall and then use the align tool to align the faces of these things. They become a little tricky to move. What a lot of people will do is they'll just draw a line rather than actually draw a wall here, because at 1/16 inch of a scale, you basically aren't going to see these little devils. Also, you end up with a problem if you don't want this wall going in front of the door opening. So good luck selecting that little devil. It's really a pain. And because our interior elevations, we may or may not be, we can just tell it not to have, show the finish here. That thin finish of 2 1/4 inch is not going to make a huge difference unless you're having somewhere where it's tiling. But anyway, what this does provide us is an opportunity for the next piece, which is every wall type that you have needs to have a wall tag. Okay. A wall tag is a piece of annotation that allows you to, here I will tag by category, and it allows you to indicate the construction of different walls. Now, you never tag exterior walls, but you do tag these thin interior walls. Here, this leader line is a little too long here. Let's see if we can make this 1/8 of an inch or something like that. Ah, there we go. That's more like it. So you mouse over every new wall and you put this little tag in it. Now, if you're enlarging an area, it is okay to tag it on the enlarged plan. I do tend to like to tag it here in the main floor plan, but it just depends how hairy things are going to get. So again, come in here and where was it? Annotate, tag by category. Okay. Now there is a feature called Tag All Not Tagged, and those of you who end up doing a lot of furniture schedules, this is an awfully nice thing. You come here to Tag All Not Tagged, and tell it which tag you want to apply and how and if you would like it to tag those objects. In this case, we are going to want door tags and window tags. Okay. Now you don't tag anything existing, so only new doors. So in this case, it would tag everything in the project. Let's see how it does. Now sometimes it doesn't get them. Nah, it didn't really get them. You know, sometimes it just can't figure out what it wants to do. So all right, we'll have to go back to annotate, tag by category, and then we'll just start tagging all the doors. Okay, and you can see this is starting to take up a lot of space. Okay, if there are any new windows, or this is actually showing up as a door, I guess because it's framed. All right, and when you tag, my personal preference is to not have the little leader line. However, at 16th inch scale, it's a little hard. So because it's just so small, these tags don't even fit in the doors. So I'm going to delete them, and I'm just going to show them on the enlarged plans for that section anyway. So your mission with the tagging is to tag all walls, all new walls, and then all doors and all borrowed lights, all windows, interior windows. Okay. The wall tags, by the way, you can label them. There typically is A, B, C is the standard. So if these guys are going to be a different wall type, for example, these may be interior 4 7/8 or 5.5 inch partition. When I go to tag that wall, put another tag in here, Revit is going to say, hey, that's a different wall type, and you can come in here and you can label that type B. It will relabel all of them, and this little devil out here maybe is type C. Okay. Some offices are going to have their own thing, like they're going to, all of your standard interior metal stud partitions are going to be A, or they'll be M for metal stud. So, you know, follow whatever your office does. Okay, so and that is basically it to get you through to the sort of start of DD, is developing this floor plan and kind of keying in where you're going to have large enlarged sections of plan, and then tagging everything, kind of identifying all the pieces. And then, you know, and things that I haven't put in, I didn't dimension, like the pool, for example. You'll want to dimension the clearances around all these strange things, which means I actually have to figure out what this looks like. Anything that's movable, you do not dimension, okay? A lot of people, I would say majority, don't show movable furniture in your floor plan. They have a special furniture plan. It remains to be seen. I think our plans may not be quite so complicated, so we can leave it in, okay? So your goal here, demolition plan and floor plan.